Greetings, JD for Shieldrum Records. Today we will talk about how to replicate some audio effects pedal. So the idea behind replicating audio effects pedal is the fact that each pedal got its own limitation, okay? And sometimes the limitation is what makes the instrument. So first, I will talk about the MXR EQ you see on screen now on the left, and I will explain later how I did it. And after that, we will talk about two other pedals that I replicated. So this one is the DD3 from Boss, okay, and I've got another one also, which is the PH3, still from Boss, okay, that one. So how do I work this? First, I take the pedal and the manual, and I'm looking at the possibilities, okay? First, the number of controls, and two, the possibilities. So for example, for this phase shifter, we don't have some dry wet knob. So we don't have dry wet. We can switch it on or off. We got the rate, the depth, the resonance or resonancy of the filter, and the mode, a kind of mode knob, which can give 4 stage, 8, 10, 12 stage, and then in 12 stage, a fall, a rise, and a step. Okay? So these are the limitations. Of course, we also got the set tempo press. We have to press this pedal for over 2 seconds. That way we can have it tap tempo by tapping on the pedal, and this will set the rate. So that last option, I didn't emulate it because it would be simple to add an additional macro which will make the speed of the modulation of your phaser in Ableton or sync to the DAW or in millisecond. Okay, so let's go now in Ableton. Keep this in head. So we just got 4 controllers, and those controllers, this is their role. So this will be easy for rate, depth, and resonancy. And for the mode, we will have to do a little trick. So let's get into it. So I already did it past week, so it will be easier to explain what is happening. So first, in my pedal rack, we could say, I always set a saturator at the input. You see, this is my effect rack, but I switch off the knobs. And this saturation or saturator will emulate the input of the pedal, because pedals got a limited input, but each of them will react differently when you will drive it. So this saturator will help you to design what kind of drive you want at the input of your pedal. For now, I just keep it by default, no clip, analog clip, and if I need some drive, I will drive it here. Okay, so let's go on the PH3. This is the green rack, excuse me. Okay, so this is this. Okay, not exactly, but this is built on this model. Okay. So for that, I took the phaser flanger from Ableton, and I start by the most simple, which is the rate. Okay, so I assign the frequency to the rate macro. Then the depth is the amount, okay, of that oscillation, so the frequency and the amount. The more we will have some depth, and the more the modulation of the phaser will be wide. Okay, meaning that we don't need to have it crank up at the maximum to have some sound. The more we will add some depth, and the more it will be wide, meaning the phaser stages will hit low frequency and high frequency maximum, depending on the center position. Okay. Then we have the resonance. So for that, I assigned it to the feedback because this is the same parameter. Then for the stage, okay, there's a first assignation for the notches and the second one for the LFO type, if I remember well. Let me turn this. Yes, exactly. Okay. So for this last control, which contain two control, okay, this is this last control, which is the stage or mode control, and it will have to change on specific steps, okay, and it will have to change also at the end of the knob. It will have to change the LFO shape. So for you to understand why we need to do that, I will open a new phaser, empty phaser. That way you will see quickly. Okay, so in a phaser flanger, when we want to change the notches, it will go one by one from 1 to 42, okay, and one by one. But on our pedal, the PS3, stages will go from 4 to 8 to 10 to 12 directly, and no above and no below 4. Okay, for that I'm using an Ableton device which is called, let me remember because I gave it a name, so I will erase that name. Okay, this is called the Shaper from Ableton. Okay, and in the Shaper we can have a knob. Same way for the Shaper, I will open one blank for you to get my point also. Okay, the Shaper normally is something where you draw a curve, and this curve will be automated, and you can have different rate for that curve and a different depth, okay? Sync and not sync. But this can be used as a manual device, okay? And in manual, as you see, this knob will draw the whole curve by moving a knob. So I use this Shaper device to choose in the pH, in the phaser, to choose only 4 notches, 8 notches, 10 and 12. And for this, I draw some steps corresponding to those number of notches, okay? That way, when I turn the stage knob, the macro, as you see the blue line, here we are in 4, 8, 10, and 12, okay? At the end of this knob, we need, let me come back to the photo, at the end of this knob, we need the shape of the LFO to change from triangle to falling sawtooth, and then to a rising sawtooth and a step mode. I didn't find the step mode in the Ableton phaser, but there's a random mode which is a bit similar. So first we have, I can erase the model. First we have a Shaper to change the number of stage, and we have another Shaper, which is here, which will do the work to change the LFO shape, okay? So can I have everything in the screen? Yes, like that. So this is the one that changed the stage. As you see, at mid it stay on the same because it have to stay on 12. And on the second LFO shape, this is when it will change the shape. You can see it full right on the screen. So down, sample and hold is for my random or step, and so up. Okay. So same way, there's several other wave shape in it. So I just find the precise step for each shape I need. Then those two manual knobs are linked to the same macro. That way you can see the behavior. I show you back the image. We will go from 4, 8, 10, 12 for rise and step. Okay, so look with the same knob. Look in this region here and here. Okay, so we have 4, 8, 10, 12, and from there it will change the wave shape. So up, so down, and sample and hold. Okay, so this is the best trick to make a full range knob like a selector. Okay, and that's it. I just add, generally, if I add some additional control, okay, we have just 4 control here. And I thought that it was interesting to add a dry wet and a warm. So this is for a kind of drive at the output of the phasing. But I left it in a range. That way we can understand that the original pedal is just this. Okay, so this is for the phasing. We can give it a test. Let me bypass the EQ and the DD3 and just send it through the phaser. And I will add a room verb in this page. Okay. By the way, this project with those first clones will be available on Shieldrum Records Patreon. So if you want to get those starting point for the PH3, the DD3, and the MXR EQ, just go on Shieldrum Records Patreon to grab them. Okay, so what I will do, I want to remove this from here, set it on audio track, and I will bounce this drum demo. Okay. So as you see, we use just some specific setting of the machine. And this is how and when it becomes interesting, because when you got a phasing which can go on a single knob from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. notches, when you change your tuning of each knob, it don't change a lot, okay? Pedal have a specific setting, and normally if we move any knob, it will give us some different sound each time. So let's go. Can change the number of stage. Some resonancy. So also I will exclude the 2 last knobs from randomization. We can go check the rise. the down. And the random. So this is okay for that one. Yes, and when all this is done, no matter if you catch it on Patreon or if you rebuild your own, everything will be set up to generate some variation and some random setting on this pedal. As you see, there's no calibration, specific calibration here. We should go on the pedal and see what is the maximum speed, maximum depth, etc. But if I find it too wide, I will reduce it in the mapping section. Let's generate one or two random setting. For example, that one. That one is interesting. No. Okay, let's go for that one. Okay, so that's all for the PH3. Let me bypass it for now. And let's go on the DD3. Okay, so let's check the pedal. That one. So this one is my own DD3. We have 4 controls. The first is the dry wet effect level. Second is feedback. Then we have delay time. And on the mode button, we have selection for different I can say this, different portion of timing. So as you can see here, the 3 different settings are one. So that one long is from 200 to 800 milliseconds. Medium is from 50 to 200 milliseconds. And small is from 12.5 and 50 milliseconds. Okay. We have also a hold mode. And you see also that this pedal have been modified, because this original hold mode is something like you have to play, and when you hold it, it will grab the last audio and make it in loop. But with this little and simple mode, this hold mode behave as a true hold mode, meaning on an echo box, when you select hold, it will set the feedback to infinity at without rising. Okay, it will set it as a loop. So this little mode bring this new function to the old function, and this is why I replicated in Ableton to have this real hold. Okay, meaning we send the signal into the delay and then we set it on hold and it will keep it forever. So this is a very great pedal. First, very great to pitch something in another pitch, let's say, with the time knob. And when we come back at the original speed, it will find back all the components of the source signal. So very great. Let's go into Ableton to see how we can do this. So for my first test, I worked with the simple delay from Ableton for two reasons. First, it is simple and I needed to add 3 of them in my rack. Okay, as you see, I've got 3 delay in parallel. The second reason why I took this one and not the echo is because the echo don't have this freeze or infinite or old switch, but this one have it. So as I wanted absolutely this old function, I use this second delay. I left it with the filter, but the more open. That way it emulates also the limited bandwidth of this pedal, which go maximum to 5 kilohertz, or perhaps 7 kilohertz, but not more. So for my demo, I kept it the more open. This is something everyone can fix. But in the front of the machine, we got only the 4 control. I see 5 here, so feedback, time, mode, and hold. Okay. So I kept the hold function with switch on the little infinite feedback, separated from the mode knob. On the original pedal, the hold is on the same. Okay. I wanted to separate it exceptionally on my rack because on the pedal, there's a big limitation, is that even if we have the modification, the circuit bending to have the hold function, we can only go in hold function from the 800 millisecond speed, okay? 200 to 800. And what I wanted is to have the hold function available also when I'm on shorter delay. Okay, so let's see how I emulate this knob selector for shorter delay. So first, I create a delay line for each of the mode. So the 12 to 50 millisecond is a delay box. In parallel, we have the 50 to 200. And in parallel, we have the 200 to 800. So how I did this? For this specific part of selecting the speed, in the mapping section, I assign the time parameter of all the 3 delay lines to the same time knob, okay? And in the mapping, for this time knob, we see that the first time corresponding to the first delay line just go from 12 to 50. The second delay time assigned to the same macro is set to 50 to 200, and the third delay time of the third delay box is set to 200 to 800. Meaning when I move this delay time, the time of the 3 delay line are moving in their own bandwidth, if we can say, okay, limited band. When I'm on the first delay, you see 12 to 50. Second, we have 50 to 200, and the third 200 to 800 limited. Okay, so this is how I did for this time parameter. Now, how do we go from one of the circuit to the other with this knob button? Okay, corresponding on the pedal to this mode button, going to several delay line. Okay, and simply I click on chain selector. I set this one, which was here, I set it at the end. Right click, distribute range equally. And I map this selector, right click, I map it to mode. That way, to change mode, I'm on the mode 1, mode 2 here, and mode 3. So this is the way to emulate this quick change in time. Okay? The old simple on the 3 delay line, we have this infinite assign. Okay? And yes, for the FX level dry wet, same way, the dry wet is assigned on the 3 echo box. And what is interesting is when we select it, as you see, each blue selection zone don't overlay the other one. So when I'm on this first mode, the two other don't work. There's no signal, so it don't take some CPU usage, okay? And when I'm on the second, the two other are switched off naturally. And when I'm on the third, the two others are switched off. Okay, so we got the dry wet also assigned to the 3 of them. The feedback also assigned to the 3 of them. Okay. And what I add as a special option is the activation of the ping pong mode here. So let's try this second pedal box. We can close all this. And I will generate a few presets. So let's remove the FX level from the macro randomization, and we will set it to 60. We can remove all from the randomization also, because this is a temporary control. And mode, we can leave it like this. Time, okay, let's go to try it. We are in the first mode. On the second mode. And the third. Direct. The old mode. Okay, so same way, this is now emulated for that one. And the idea behind that is also to have only 4 control assigned by effect. Okay, 1 control for the phasing, like 4 control for the phaser, and 4 control for the delays. Okay, I keep it open, that way you will not miss the additional controls. Okay, that's done for the delay also. So the third one seems simple, but Yes, it's simple in fact, but a great tool. It's the MXR EQ, so this is the same that you can see on the presentation page, okay, on the bottom left. So what I did, I look at all the frequencies, the 10 frequencies chosen for this from this gear builder from MXR. And I see that there's a fader for the input signal and a fader for the output signal, okay? So you got the image in mind. Let's go. So for the mixer, as we have 10 band and an EQ in Ableton got only 8 band, I opened 2 EQ. Okay. The first one will work on the 2 first band, and the second one will work on the 8 other band. Okay. So for this, I choose to assign the gain, simply the gain of each, how can we call it? This is a graphic EQ, in fact. And each little fader will add plus 12 or minus 12 dB at this specific frequency with a Q of 4. It's something like that, okay? Because if we want to bring everything up, you see, it will, if we change that Q, because I added it as a additional control, so I will just move it, that way you can understand. If we reduce that Q, you see that it will hit the neighborhood frequency. If I set it at 4, as it is generally for this kind of EQ, it will not touch too much to the neighborhood frequency. So these are the 2 first bands, and then you have the other bands. Okay, so these are frequency chosen for guitar and bass. We see that we can also accentuate around the subs. The pedal in itself goes into maximum 12 dB, and in Ableton this EQ can go to 15 dB. I left it by default, but you can reduce it if needed. Okay, and what I find interesting in this little EQ, I will remove this exclude for randomization. Okay. This can become an effect by just randomizing some tuning. Okay, the 10 point will move at the same time at different ratio. Let's hear this with some music. Okay, and the second control, the second additional control I set is the scale mode, and the scale is a function of the EQ8 which will scale to 200% or minus 200% the whole tuning of the EQ. So if I move scale, as you see, I accentuate its tuning, and if I go below 100, it reverses this tuning. Okay, so this is not on the original pedal, but this is very great to be able to morph between minus 100 to 100. Okay, we can go until 200. Let's listen. I wanted to reduce it to plus 100, minus 100. But as it's an additional function, we will leave it like this. And if you want, you can recalibrate it to your taste. But as an experimental tool, I find it great that we can change several things. So let's save a reset mode. So this one is pretty simple. We just have to find the right cue. And in fact, I just went on Google and type what is the cue of each band in a 10-band EQ. Okay. And it delivered answer like a cue of 4 is generally what they use. Okay, so we can save this as a default state, EQ default. Okay. And let's generate some crazy curve and save them. So I'm randomizing for some experimentation, but the final word on that unit is that this kind of pedal is generally for guitar. So if you set it on a guitar track, you will find some precise frequency to tune a guitar or a bass on this. This can also be great on post effect or before a reverb or things like that. So for the last example, I wanted to test something. Let's go back to the intro image. And on the intro image, we see that we have the MXR studio compressor, which looks like to be a simple compressor. The one from Ableton is a bit more complicated, but let's say we just want a compressor for quick tweaking when we got an instrument. So I will try to find this image on my computer. Yeah. Okay, that way I can zoom in on this pedal. So as we can see on this MXR, we have an input, an output, an input level, an output level, attack, release, and a selection of 4 or 8 or 12 or 20 on 1 ratio. Okay, so we don't have a threshold on this. We just have a ratio, meaning that the threshold will be ruled by the input. Let's say we have a fixed threshold, and when we will crank up the input of the signal will cross that threshold. Okay, so we don't have threshold. We have to build a compressor without the threshold parameter. Okay, so first, when I do that, let me reduce all of this. MXR DD3. So let's create an effect rack. An empty audio effect rack. Okay. First, we will name, we need 5 control minimum. Okay, and I will set the threshold here as additional control. We can use this without using this threshold knob. Okay, this will be the goal. So first we create the number of control we need. Okay, secondary, we will name them. So we need, we will set it in that order: input, ratio, attack, release, output. Okay, so and output. So now you can take any of your compressor, but I will take the simpler from Ableton. It's a very great comp, so we will go with that. So we need an input and an output. For the output, we can eventually assign the output of the compressor. Okay. So we will map this to output. It can go to maximum 36 dB. So we have to take care with that. For the input, we don't have input. So what we'll do, we take utility. And we will set this gain to the input. We will also set it to 0 for the maximum, 0 dB. That way, at the maximum, it's neutral. Oh, I can't do like that because I need something to crank up. Okay. Because at 0 at the input is like there's no modification and we will not cross whatever threshold we will put here. So let's say we will add 18 dB maximum for the input. Okay, now the ratio. Okay, the ratio, we have, how we can tell it? A selectable ratio. We have to hit 4, 8, 12, and 20. So as I was saying at the beginning of this tutorial, if I take ratio and I assign it to its knob, I will go across every value, too much value, for this limited selected ratio pedal. Okay, so we will not assign it directly. Simply remove mapping and we will catch a shaper from Ableton. Shaper in audio effects. Okay, put it before the compressor. We will set it in manual. We will reset this shape. And now it's we have to try, okay? Try to hit. So let me remember 2, no, 4, 8, 12, and 20. So let's try to hit 4. 4 is the default setting and it seems to be at the mid. Okay, so first I will changing as map. No, not modulation, but as a remote. And we will use map to map it to the ratio. Okay, now when I move manual, normally it will change my ratio if I have a curve. Okay. I saw that at 100 it come back to the first value because the 100 is that little dot at the bottom. Okay, so if we want the last value to be the end value, we have to move the last point up. But yeah, we just need to start from 4. So let's just draw something the more horizontal as possible. And let's see by moving this knob. Okay, so it's too low. Let's see. Okay, for the moment we are at 2. You hit Maj click or Shift click to remove a point. Still not high enough. Okay, we come close. This is just the little difficulty I find is that we can't quantize at the horizontal our setting, but yeah, this is not a big problem. Okay, we come close to this. Okay, let's say it will be okay for that. Then we need 8. Let's see if we jump on 8. No, it's still not 8. Where do it goes at the maximum? This could be great if Ableton could add an update where we can zoom this to draw. But yeah, for the moment, this is the price to pay. Okay, here we are at 9, so a bit lower than that. $395, I don't think we can come closer to 4. Okay, 4. Here we must be at 8. Okay, we are at 8, something like that. Then we need to have 10. There's some other way in Ableton to do this more precisely with the IFTA additional pack. So if you go into packs, you can also find it separately from your packs. Pack, and perhaps if I tap IFTA. Okay, in variation demo, I think it's called Performer. Or see? Yes, this is Performer. So this is a kind of MIDI interface where on each knob we can assign this knob on a real controller, and we can decide for each knob of the action curve. Okay, if it will be regular or algorithmic curve of the knob, or a regular curve of the knob, or several things like drawing, things like that. But in the IFTA tool, everything is more precise because you can have a bigger screen. I just take Shaper because it's smaller, and everyone have it at the beginning in Ableton. So let's say we just work with what is available for everyone from start, 10. And for the last one, ratio, it will be 12. No, the last one is 20, if I remember well. Let's double check. Yes, 4, 8, 12, and 20. Okay, let's try again. 12, something like that. Before that, we have 8, great, and 4. So it moved slightly, but this is not a big thing. The dot, let's say that the ratio dot something or the little slight variation make it your own compressor. So now that we set that knob with selectable ratio, we will map it to ratio. After that, we need to map the attack of the compressor. So this part is pretty simple. And the release of the compressor. The output is already set. I say that as additional, I will set the threshold. Okay, and to be sure that we cross the threshold at 0, let's do a test. I will send a signal to the maximum. Okay, I know I'm hitting the 0 here with my drum. I think I will set the fixed threshold around -12. We see on the compressor, this is when it starts to compress in RMS mode. And by the way, the peak RMS expand will be the second additional control. And I don't want to go into the expand mode. So let's see if we can map this. So peak expand, yes, we can stop it at RMS. So we can go now with this model switch. From peak to RMS. Perhaps it will be clearer peak / RMS. So generally, RMS mode is for some more musical and general attenuation, and peak is really to catch peak for some quick performance. So same way, we will exclude from randomization some of the controls. Okay. The output, I fear that it's a bit too much to go to 36 maximum, so we will tell it 12 dB maximum, 18, sorry. Okay, and we will remove this from randomization also. It worked quite well. RMS mode. Okay, I think that's done also for this compressor pedal. I think we can set this fixed threshold to something even lower. Yes, that way when we are at 0 already, it starts to compress. And it's quite sure that it compresses more than a pedal. Okay, and that's done. Now I can close this. Now, if we wanted to really emulate, for example, this mixer pedal precisely, we would go into the manual and see, for example, how many accentuation of the input we can do, how many attenuation and accentuation of the output also, and what is the fixed threshold. Okay. DBX also made some compressor like this, like we have a hidden setting in the machine. Normally we don't have access to the threshold, but the more we will crank up the input and the faster the compressor will compress, okay, because of crossing the threshold. So yes, this is a my rack of before. Okay, I have to find back my rack. This was a good idea to save it earlier. Okay, I will add this MXR comp in the same rack. We call it pedals rack. So here for the first 4 pedals, which are close to the design of the original one. And just for the fun, let's try to switch on everyone. Something like that. Okay, so I hope it gives you the opportunity to discover how simple it is to replicate something you may not have. Um, you can all do this on your own gear, because sometimes it's good to have a copy of a specific gear from the studio to have it in a copy in Ableton or other DAW. And also, you can that way also experiment the duplication of pedal you don't have by simply going on the web, look at the PDF and the front panel of the pedal you wish to have. Brief, you try to decode how it works and replicate what you understand out of it. It will objectively lead you to a different effect. Even if you don't come close to the original, it will lead you in a direction where you will use all those effects in a different way. Okay, so perhaps in the future I will come back on this topic with some more complicated pedal. So I will take time to think about 3 or 4 other pedal to duplicate. So thank you for the following. Thank you also for the support. Don't miss to go on Shieldrum Records Patreon to get this project. I guess I will make it available from level 1. That way you can extract any of those effects and save it into your own project, okay, on your Ableton. Yes, we'll come back. If you have any idea of which kind of pedal we could replicate, you can put it in the comment and I will have a look on it. Okay, so thank you for everything. How many times? 1 hour. That's very great. I just wanted to make 1 hour out of this. See you in the next tutorial. Dubwise.